Love is an intense emotion of affection, warmth, fondness, and regard towards someone. And it happens unexpectedly. This story is about Crystal, an intelligent and beautiful woman who makes an unexpected connection with the cable guy named Daryl. She has no choice but to reevaluate her current love life. Will she eventually leave her current love for Daryl? And how will she go about that? We will find out. In the opening scene of My Valentine Crush, Crystal prepares for her pre-Valentine date with her perfect boyfriend Xavier. She cooks and also has a little discussion with her friend Jasmine over the phone. Jasmine hopes he's a changed man and will take her somewhere special for Valentine's. Crystal tries to cover up for him and lets her know he has an important business meeting, so they will not be hanging out for Valentine's. Jasmine does not want her to get bored on Valentine's Day, so she invites her to her Valentine's party with friends. Crystal declines because she believes the party will be boring without her boyfriend. When Jasmine insists, she plans to reconsider. Crystal anxiously ends their discussion to get ready for Xavier. However, Xavier shows up and she's delighted to see him. He's impressed and compliments her on looking beautiful and sexy. He also realizes she has made his favorite food by the aroma. He cannot resist how sexy she looks, so they make out. After a session in bed, Xavier confesses his feelings for her. Crystal sees the moment as the perfect moment to know if he's ready to get serious about their relationship. She wants to know if he will cancel his business meeting. But he doesn't, because he believes it is more important than spending time with her. She's heartbroken and wants to know where their relationship stands. He claims he does not like to conform to pressure to define his relationship, but promises to never leave her. That does not look promising to me, if I may say. Crystal is not satisfied either, so he decides to leave for his house to get prepared for his business meeting. Even though she wants him to stay, he insists. She feels bad because they did not get to spend enough time with each other. They also did not get to eat the dinner she made. In the next scene on Valentine's Day, Crystal gets to work, and she's bothered because everyone is celebrating the day with their loved ones. Meanwhile, as she decides to concentrate on her work, her internet connection gets interrupted. She's frustrated because she has a deadline to meet at work. She calls for the internet technician and lets them know how desperately she needs someone to fix her internet. Meanwhile, Natasha, who's in charge of the company, calls one of their workers named Daryl because he is already close to her street. Even though he is almost getting off from work, he gladly accepts. When Natasha informs Crystal she will get someone to attend to her, she is relieved. Eventually, Daryl shows up at her house, and Crystal gets attracted to his physique and believes he's too good-looking to be the cable guy. He's not that surprised, because he gets a lot of attention from ladies. When he tries to check the issue with her internet, he sees her high school certificate and discovers they went to the same high school. But they never got to see each other in high school, because Crystal was always in the library. Daryl was a footballer and every girl's dream guy in high school. They get along really well, and he manages to fix her internet. He even refuses to be paid, and wants her to consider it as a gift from an old high school friend. She is grateful, but the connection Crystal feels towards him is a deep one, and she does not even remember she's in a relationship with Xavier. When he goes to trash a paper, he sees the dinner she trashed, and feels bad about such a waste. While going to check one last time to ascertain that the internet is working perfectly, Crystal purposely leans on him. The attraction for her is undeniable. On his way out, he sees the flowers Xavier got her for Valentine's Day, and believes the guy who sent them must be special. Crystal, knowing what is happening in their relationship, hopes he will be. He leaves, but unknown to him, Crystal wishes he could stay longer. Shortly after that, Daryl comes back to get his working equipment, and Crystal thinks her wish is granted. Unfortunately, it's not. He is back to take the extra battery he forgot. However, in his truck, Daryl receives a message from a lady and lets her know he will be going out with her for the last time. They plan to meet later in the day. Meanwhile, Crystal is finally able to conclude her work, and she's relieved. Jasmine calls to remind her of the party, and she promises to be there. Later that night, Crystal attends the party. One of their friends, who does not like to mind her business, curiously wants to know why Xavier is not with her. Afterward, Summer, who's also their friend, shows up with her date. Guess who the date happens to be? Daryl. So the lady texting Daryl earlier in the truck was Summer. Crystal is surprised. Summer, who's kind of aggressive and not on good terms with Crystal, flaunts Daryl to make her feel jealous. Daryl, on the other hand, is surprised to see her the second time in a day. Can this be a coincidence or fate? We will find out. Eventually, they all get along at the party and have a debate about women and child support. Daryl supports the women because he believes mothers should get child support, and also lets them know it's based on his own experience. All the ladies, including Crystal, appreciate him and like his point of view. Eventually, Crystal misses her boyfriend, so she decides to get some time alone outside. Daryl joins her, making Summer jealous. Outside, Daryl compliments Crystal on her outfit. He also tries to clear the mix-up. He let her know he and Summer are just friends, but she finds it hard to believe, because Summer seems to be into him. He feels she's jealous, as he's curious about her also. Daryl believes their meeting is a sign from God, making her surprised. He suggests they hang out and get away from the party. She agrees, because she's getting bored already. They both leave and take a stroll. Daryl reveals he couldn't further his education because of his financial status, but he has always been fascinated by electronics. That's why he became a cable man. He also lets her know he has been married before, but it didn't work out. Crystal, on the other hand, reveals she's a graduate, and a brilliant one with an MBA. He's impressed. She also reveals her plans to get married if she finds the right man. He discovers she never has time for fun because she works so hard, and encourages her to make out time for herself. However, her way of having fun is singing poetry. Well, he wants to see her have some real fun, so he decides to take her to his friend's open mic show. When they get there, she gets nervous and feels she needs to get high to be confident. He encourages her to give it her best shot. She sings poetry, and everyone is thrilled by it. She feels so alive with the applause, and also appreciates him for his support. Afterward, they have more fun and drink to celebrate. Being a good man, he walks her home and hopes to see her again. She wants him to stay, so he invites him in. But he declines because he believes she has had too much alcohol. However, she insists he comes in and clarifies that she's not drunk, so he eventually agrees to stay. They continue with getting to know each other, and their connection keeps increasing gradually. She's curious and wants to know why he's still single. It's because he wants a woman with integrity to start a serious relationship with. This impresses her greatly, as he is a mature man who knows what he wants. Finally, she reveals she's seeing someone, but feels he's not ready to get serious with her. Although, she also thinks maybe she's being impatient. He believes she is special and needs to be valued. They eventually sleep in each other's arms on her couch. It is indeed an unexpected Valentine's Day. In the next scene, Crystal gets his coffee the next morning, and she hopes they can spend more time with each other. Fortunately, it's his day off work, so they can still hang out. He suggests they get breakfast after he goes home to change. She's so happy with this attention. This is what she wants from Xavier. Crystal gets ready while she waits for Daryl. Jasmine calls to let her know she's aware they are hanging out, and wants to know how it goes. Crystal reveals he's a gentleman, and every woman's dream man. But Jasmine thinks she will hurt him, because she's in a relationship. But she reveals that he knows about Xavier. Jasmine tries to make her see why Xavier doesn't deserve her, but she does not give her a chance to. She hangs up so she will not keep Daryl waiting. In the next scene, they have their breakfast in a restaurant, and a woman named Monica bumps into them. She's clearly into Daryl, and gets jealous when she sees Crystal with him. After she leaves, Crystal wants to know who Monica is to him. Well, it turns out she's his ex-wife, and they divorced for a reason he's not ready to share at the moment. She understands how he feels, and believes Monica does not deserve him. Afterward, she appreciates him for being generous when he walks her home. They're getting fond of each other really fast. But it seems this fairy tale life is about to end, because she receives a message from Xavier, unknown to Daryl. Xavier wants to make it up to her, and promises to see her soon. She's disturbed, and feels like she's been flirting with another man. So she gets rid of Daryl quickly, and they do not even get to say a proper goodbye. Later, her boyfriend shows up, and she wants him to know she's still angry about him missing their Valentine's Day together. However, he let her know how successful his meeting went, and wants to celebrate it with her. To make it up to her, he wants them to spend their weekend in the Bahamas. She's surprised, and feels he's a changed man. She also hopes the getaway will bring them closer. She leaves to pack her luggage, while Xavier waits for her to get ready. Unfortunately, Xavier discovers 2 coffee mugs in her kitchen, and suspects she had company when he was away. Will he confront her? Crystal finally gets ready, but upon seeing her luggage, he feels it is too much for just a weekend. When they're about to leave, Crystal receives a message from Daryl letting her know he wishes to see her again. But she decides to ignore it. After all, her man is back. In the next scene, Daryl discusses Crystal with his friend Eddie, who's also Jasmine's boyfriend. He confesses he's falling in love with her, and believes she's his missing piece. Eddie, however, thinks it's too early, and wants him to take his time to figure out if it's love or lust. But a love-stricken Daryl believes it's love. His friend reminds him of her boyfriend, but he believes he will not be an issue. Since he's aware he's ready to get serious with Crystal, Eddie feels it will not be easy for her to break free from her relationship, because they have been dating for a while. He suggests he reconsider and take his time, so he will not get heartbroken again. Jasmine joins them, wanting to know what they're discussing, but they hide it from her because she's Crystal's friend. When Xavier and Crystal get back from their trip, it did not go as she imagined it, and she feels bad. He apologizes, feeling it's not entirely his fault that he is not feeling too well, so she had to explore the Bahamas all by herself. While he tries to make it up to her, she's also trying to reconsider. Unfortunately, his phone rings, and he leaves to attend to it, even when she begs him not to. She gets more frustrated, and feels less important to him, since his work always comes first. After a long business call, he joins her in bed. Without apologizing or caring about how she feels, he wants to have sex with her. She declines, and he leaves her in frustration. The next day, when she's working, Daryl, who's bothered he has not heard from her, keeps sending her messages to check up on her. But she has not responded to any of his messages, because she is so busy trying to make things her relationship with Xavier work out. Let's hope she sees the writing on the wall. Later, Xavier is surprised she did not cook for him, even though she loves doing so. He calls out to her, and she bluntly lets him know her world doesn't revolve around him. Does that mean she has realized she deserves better? Crystal is also surprised he's still around. He let her know he wants them to spend time together, but he believes something's wrong, because she never wants to spend time with him. Or does he think she's cheating because of the 2 mugs he saw before their trip? We will find out. However, they're still at the center of their argument when her doorbell rings, and she leaves to get it. Xavier, who has been suspecting her, follows her to get the door. Alas, guess what? It is Daryl. He stopped by her house because he was worried. A jealous Xavier believes he has been right all along, and warns him to stay clear of his girlfriend. Crystal's confused about everything that is happening. She introduces them, but the proud Xavier believes he's better than him, because she introduces him as the cable guy. Daryl feels bad, seeing that Crystal is ashamed of him. However, Xavier collects the soup he bought for her and wants him to leave. Crystal feels bad that she did not defend him. Afterward, Xavier wants an explanation, and reveals he has been suspecting her. He believes she's cheating, and she has not been as truthful as she claims to be. Crystal tells him straight up that he's the reason for what is happening, because he does not want to have time for her. When he does not admit he's wrong, she decides to break up with him. She has realized she deserves better than Xavier. He is surprised and wants her to be sure that's what she wants, because he believes she will regret it. She proudly let him know she won't. Finally, he believes she is breaking up with him because of Daryl, who is not up to his standard. Like it's a terrible thing to do, he feels sorry for her as he leaves. Later, she drinks because she's heartbroken and hopes she will not regret breaking up with Xavier. While on that, Xavier calls her to make her feel jealous. He wants her to listen to him making love to another woman. As if the veil has finally fallen off her eyes, she now believes he will not change, and it took her a lot of time to finally realize it. Afterward, she calls Daryl, but he doesn't pick up, so she decides to send him a voicemail. She apologizes for what happened earlier that day and wants him to reach out to her. But will he want her back after the way she treated him? The next day, Crystal decides to have a girls' night out with Jasmine. She explains what happened and believes Daryl will reach out to her when he's calm. She hopes he does because she's anxious. Jasmine suggests he give him enough time to come around. However, knowing the kind of guy Xavier is, Jasmine is glad she broke up with him. It was a good decision, so she encourages her not to be hard on herself. Meanwhile, Daryl, heartbroken by what happened, tries to get over her. He decides to go play basketball. His friend Eddie joins him, but soon realizes he's heartbroken, because he knows he likes to play basketball when's down. But Daryl is not willing to share what happened with him, because he's still hurting. However, Jasmine has been able to successfully cheer Crystal up to make her feel better. They have a great time together, just like old days in high school. Crystal remembers she had a crush, but they didn't end up together, and believes love is hard. Jasmine reminds her it's not. She believes it is her fault for dating the wrong guy, because he's everything she wants in a man, but she forgot to look out for value and integrity. Eventually, Crystal reveals she tries to convince herself that Xavier was the perfect man for her, because he's attractive and successful. But when she met Daryl, she started to think otherwise. She believes she has ruined it. Jasmine does not want her to give up, and promises to discuss it with her boyfriend Eddie, so he can try to convince him to give her a call. This eases Crystal's mind. In the next scene, Crystal bumps into Daryl and Summer in a restaurant. She decides to approach them, but soon realizes he's still hurting. She pleads for an audience with him, so she can apologize and make things right. Summer, who's jealous, wants him to decline, but unfortunately for her, he agrees to hear her out. Once outside, she apologizes, but he believes he can't trust her again, because he felt she led him on and hurt him. She reveals she was confused, but she has realized now what she wants. However, he thinks it is too late, and does not want to be her second option, even if he's not up to her standard. Then he leaves angrily, making Crystal feel bad. How will she change his mind? Some time later, Eddie and Daryl chat while he assists him in cooking. Eddie wants to know how he has moved on. He reveals he saw Crystal the other day, but things were not smooth as they used to be. He thinks it's not good to fall in love with the same woman twice, because she was his crush in high school. He remembers she liked sitting in the library, and he believed she was beautiful and smart. But because he was a footballer and girls were always around him, he could not ask her out back then. He decided to move on. His friend is surprised by this revelation, but also feels he still loves her. Jasmine comes in with Crystal just at the right time. Jasmine and Eddie hope they work things out, so they leave them to talk. Crystal tries to make things right, but Daryl wants to avoid her, because he's still hurting. She insists they thrash everything out, because she wants to clear the air between them. She's sick of them both feeling terrible. So he lets her know he's finding it hard to trust her again, because he feels he is being fooled. She apologizes, and reveals her relationship with Xavier was complicated. She confesses that she feels Xavier was everything she ever wanted, until she met Daryl. He made her feel special, and this made her fall in love with him. He's surprised, but still finds it hard to believe. So he leaves her heartbroken. Jasmine joins her, and Crystal reveals she tried to make things work out between them unsuccessfully. At this point, she's about to give up. Her friend encourages and hugs her. In the next scene, Crystal is gradually moving on. She decides to work on herself while she hopes Daryl comes around. However, Xavier returns, begging to have her back. Unfortunately, it is too late and she's seen the real person behind his facade, so she declines. Afterward, she writes down her poetry and realizes that the inspiration is actually about her experience with Xavier. Meanwhile, Daryl drinks to make himself feel better. His ex-wife Monica bumps into him again. She approaches him and wants to know if he's still with Crystal, but he's not willing to share the information with her. She decides to apologize to him and feels they should try again. He let her know it is too late, because he is already into someone else. Finally, she agrees he's indeed a man of integrity. Seeing him and Crystal the other day made her realize what they could have been. She confesses she loves him. He appreciates her, but declines politely as he leaves. He realizes it's high time he lets go and forgives Crystal. Finally, Daryl visits Crystal, and she's surprised to see him at her door. He confesses that he loves her, and he can't stop thinking about her. He may not be all she wants or needs, but promises to always try to be, because she is worth it and deserves it. They share a romantic kiss as they usher in a new phase of their love life. After being with two undeserving partners, this marks a new beginning for both of them.